Higher wisdom and guidance to live your dream life. This is the Mandy Curry Podcast. Welcome to episode 1. I'm Mandy Curry, and I am so excited to be here with you all today and to be kicking off our very first episode of this new podcast. I wanted to spend this first podcast giving you a little bit of background and setting the scene for what we're going to be talking about here. And I don't know about you all, but I'm starting to feel this. I've been feeling this personally for quite some time, and I'm starting to feel this from so many that I talk with, that there is such this yearning desire for more in our life, that we're just beginning to feel like there has to be something a little bit more, and we can't always place or grasp what that is, but we're starting to feel a little bit of this excitement for something new, but we're just starting to feel like the old ways just aren't working anymore. And I started to have that feeling. It's actually been a little while. It perhaps could have even been for an entire lifetime. But I started to really have those feelings a couple of years ago in my life. And about a year ago, I started to ask some really big questions, those big questions that we often ask in life, which are, why am I here? What did I come here for? What did I come here to do? And what did I come here to be? And just started to almost feel like frustration over not knowing the answers to that. And it sent me down a self-discovery journey, a journey that almost became obsessive in my life, to the point where I actually stepped away from everything. I had had 4 businesses at the time. Everything felt like it was going in the right direction, but just something wasn't right. And so I literally stepped away from all of it and spent about 6 months really deep diving into, why am I really here? What am I here to do? And I remember I just had so much frustration, and I was looking outside of me for the guidance. And actually at that time, I was even paying a lot of people. I was paying consultants and going through a ton of different programs, just trying to figure out and get a little bit further in the journey. And many of them helped. But what I actually began to realize is that there was a part of me that was connected to all that is. Some might call it their soul, some may call it the universe, God, whatever it is, but there was a part of me that knew exactly why I was here, that knew exactly what I was here to do. And it was that part of me that I really, really wanted to access. And I found that was the hardest conversation to have. And I went through all of the different strategies. Read all about intuition and how you can use that to be able to connect with that part of you that knows the way, and how your feelings and your emotions all factor into that. But I just found myself very frustrated. And I remember throughout this process, and I actually even started a YouTube channel where I was chronicling this whole journey of self-discovery, is what I called it. And I was chronicling this journey of self-discovery and trying all these different ways to try and just get deeper and really figure out why am I here? What am I here to do? And so I remember at one point in the journey, literally going outside, looking up into the sky and just yelling, if you can move mountains, if you can create worlds, why can't we just have a conversation? Why is talking so hard? Why? I don't want to do it through intuition. I don't want to do it through writing. I just want to have a conversation. I just want to talk. And then it happened. And it was the most incredible experience of my life. And it didn't happen right away. It happened over the course of the next few months. But it did happen, and those conversations have happened every day since. And it is a part of me, again, some might call it many different things, and I don't even want to label it what it is, because I believe that once we label it, it changes everything. But a wisdom and guidance began to verbally come through me that changed everything. And available on demand, always ready to answer any questions that I had with the most love, the most compassion, and truly the most excitement for my life that I had ever experienced. Almost more excitement for my life than I even had for it myself. And it's that part of me that knows the way. And so everything began to change. All of the big questions that I had, I was starting to get guidance on. And it wasn't as if I was having a psychic experience to where I was able to see the future, because I think that there are so many different potentials for where we can go. what I started to receive was this amazing wisdom and guidance and love that really just helped me along the path. I would get the most wonderful excitement about where things were going in my journey. A lot of the questions were around religion, and I have had so many questions about religion and the role that it plays in our life, and so much guidance came through about that, and questions about, what are my soul's desires? What am I actually here to do? What lights up my soul as a part of this mission per se? And I've always had this feeling of a mission in life. Did I really even have a mission? If so, what is it? I mean, what am I here? What am I really here to do? I've asked things about manifestations, about big dreams that I've wanted to manifest, and why they haven't manifested yet, and what's kind of held them up, and am I holding myself up? And different things about different loops in my life where I felt like I might be in a loop, where something felt maybe like I was in a perhaps a loop of unworthiness, and that would manifest itself in a couple of different ways. And so I would begin to get guidance on what that was, and what might be causing that, and then how to lift myself out of it. And so truly what it became is almost this biofeedback. I mean, I would be able to get quick feedback on how to, course correct, although that's a bit of a harsh word because we're not ever off course, but it would just help me to correct things a little bit so that instead of staying in a unworthiness loop for literally 20 years, as I have done before, I could then find myself rising out of it in just a couple of days. That was huge, huge for me. And what a shift that's been in my life. But then I also began to question. I mean, this is all guidance that I'm getting from the unseen. And so much of it began to I had a lot of fear that came up from it, a lot of anxiety. And so right now, it's a big part of just surrendering and trusting this unseen guidance. It's the guidance that I've wanted my entire life. It's the guidance that I was so wanting to have, and that connection. And then when it came, then I got a little scared. And then I got a little nervous because a part of that meant that I also had to unlearn everything that I thought I knew about life. Everything I thought I knew about relationships, around health, around wealth. I had to unlearn all of it. And I'm now beginning to learn a new way to live. And much of that means beginning to shed the fear, the control, shedding all of the walls that I had built around my life for protection. It means surrendering to all of that and surrendering to this unseen part of me that knows the way to my highest potential, that knows the way to fulfill what I came here to do. And that's the journey that I'm on right now. And so through this podcast, I'll be sharing with you some of the guidance that just naturally comes through. I actually will just record it into a podcast. And it's interesting because you can begin to see the stages of this progression. I started recording the podcast. I started recording this fairly early in the journey. And so when I first started to receive this guidance, it was very slow. And I remember just the way that I felt. When it came through, there is so much love. And the guidance that would answer my questions, there's never any judgment. There is nothing but love. There is never anything wrong. And I would ask some very tough questions. I would ask about religion. I would ask about harassment. I would ask about things that many might perceive as not good things or maybe dark moments in their life. But the guidance that comes through is that everything serves. There is never anything wrong. It's all a part of the journey, and it's all a part of our own expansion. And so for that 30 minutes or 60 minutes a day, it's a chance to really get to feel that feeling. It's a chance to get to feel that unconditional love that is felt for us. And it is truly the most amazing feeling. There is never a feeling of self-doubt. There is never feelings of unworthiness, of self-conscious, of anxiety. None of that is felt when this guidance is coming through. It is nothing but unconditional love. And I find that fascinating. I find it fascinating that that experience can be had. And I find that it even trickles over, that it lingers, that feeling lingers on even once I'm done with that session. And that's a powerful thing that we all have access to, because truly I believe that we all have access to this guidance within ourselves and that that's where we're all going. And so to be able to feel that, and to feel that unconditional love, and then to know that it can linger on after and really begin to change our life, like that's pretty incredible. That's how we change. That's how we change the world from the inside out. It's an amazing, amazing feeling. So through this podcast, I'll be sharing the wisdom that comes through. And there are many things that we'll be talking about, very short snippets on how to raise your vibration. How do you change the world without force and control? How do you support friends or individuals who might be going through addiction or some perceived really dark moments? How unworthiness holds us back in our journey? And who's really leading the way? Is it us? Is it our higher self? Who's really in charge of our life? And how do we start to understand this a little bit more? Those are just a few of the things that we will be going into, and I am so excited to share this with you. So this was just an introduction. The next show will be the very first channeled session. And you're going to find that probably over time, the whole feelings, the sound, the energy will be very different. When I first started doing this, I talked very, very slow and almost sounded a bit zombie-like. Now I find that I am talking much faster with a little bit more emotion, and it continues to get even faster. Sometimes I'm like trying to rush and catch my breath sometimes. And so you'll probably feel that. So it changes a little bit, but it can just help us on our journey, and it can help us to just inspire us along our day. Because truly what we are, I believe, being invited to right now is to explore a new way to live, to begin to release many of the things that have held us back, many of the things that have been created in fear and lack and limitation, and so that we can begin to step into the life that we really came here to live. Because we all made the decision to come here for what truly is the most amazing time that our earth has ever experienced. That's what we're getting ready to walk into. Something that's never been done before. And we have a chance to walk into it. We came here for this. We came here to be pioneers of a new way to live. And so much of that process is about releasing a lot of the old, which is why a lot of things in our life just don't feel like they jive anymore. So through this process, we will have a chance to go very deep into that, get inspired, and then begin to apply this into our daily life. And speaking of application, I'm also taking you along on the journey of how I'm applying all this in my life as well. So you can check out my YouTube channel, Mandy Curry. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you'll subscribe to this podcast. And if you ever have any questions that you would love to have answered or talked about on one of the podcasts, please reach out to me. You can learn much more at mandycurry.com. Thank you again for joining, and I can't wait to be back again with you very soon. Take care.